Hi, everyone. I am Maisha Tierra, the Artistic Director at Perceptions Theater, and I have with us today one of our playwrights from the second annual BIPOC Play Festival, Lewis Johnson, who I'm so happy to see again because this is our second time working with Lewis in some of his work. So thank you for joining us again.
Glad to be back.
So happy to have you back. I know personally, I love your work. This is my second time reading some of your work. And the first time it was Frenemies, where it was two young ladies, a black young lady and a white young lady, kind of working on what an ally is and is it really necessary, and what amount of labor do black people have to put in when it comes to these protests out here in the world. And I really loved how the black girl explained unapologetically that I don't have to do nothing I don't want to. At the end of the day, I didn't create dynamics. I didn't make it to where we are in the position that we are today. So whether I sit at home or I go in the streets, that is my decision to make. It's up to you, the people that created the problem, to dismantle what you have created. So I
Mhm.
appreciate that you did that from the guise of young people, millennial, Gen Z type folks, and were able to capture it in a way that still resonates with us, although you are not of our generation. So, what I actually, one of my first questions for you is, how are you able to do that? How are you able to transcend generations when you're making your creative choices as a playwright?
Well, I have kids. I have kids that age. Number one, and number two, I try to surround myself with people of different ages so that I know what's going on in the world. Number one, and number two, uh, since the theater is mostly made up of younger people, you need to be able to relate to them. Because that's in order to fix what's going on. It starts with the young because most of the older cats and older women are set in their ways. So you can't really change them. You know what I mean? Some of them you can, but for the most part, you can't. But if you start with the people who are younger, maybe they'll take your experience into account and say, well, hey, this old dude's been there. So maybe he may know what he's talking about, or maybe he's just a crazy old dude. But either way, it's just kind of, you know, I get out and I listen, and I listen and I, you know, keep my ears open. And that's how I find out what's going on.
I love that you are so collaborative when it comes to the younger generation and the older generation of Black theater, and being able to make it work together. Because I do think sometimes when it comes to older generations and younger generations, we don't always see eye to eye in creative processes, but being able to actually learn from one another and create and collab is a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that you actually do that, and you do it earnestly, and you don't do it in a condescending way, but you do it in a way that we're both able to learn from one another. um I know that the piece we have this year is The Voice Inside My Head, which goes on to tell the story of a black man who is literally at his own wake of his funeral, as we if we hear him tell this one person monologue story about how he ended up here and why you're here today, seeing or reading about his death. How did you come to say, this is the piece I want to write?
Well, the play has been working in my head for a long time because I was a victim of gun violence. My brother was killed when I was younger, but so I've lived with gun violence most of my life, and now with what's going on with what happened with George Floyd, over the last 2 years with the crazy political situation and the riots and all this other crazy stuff that's going on, it just it's happening so often that it needed to be addressed. And I wanted to address it in a way that people would say, "Damn, this is kind of crazy," but because the voice inside my head is a blow by blow of account of this guy's moving, this guy's journey into being murdered, basically. And I, I I think the way it's written, that I was trying to get the story across in a way that people would actually see it and hear it as opposed to just watching it and blowing it off. And I think with the voice inside my head, once you see it, I think it'll shake you. I think you realize that this is real here. This is really happening because it's different when you see it on TV because it's a 2 minute blurb and it goes away and you don't think about it anymore. But with this play, it follows this guy as he's being murdered, and it's a startling piece. It was startling. It when I was writing it, a couple times I had to stop. I had to actually stop and walk away from it because it just really was getting in my head. But I wanted to write a play that wasn't very easily forgotten because now we have the debate about gun violence. And if you know anyone who had a sibling or a relative murdered or killed in a violent way, gun control is not going to help. It's not going to do anything because the guns are already in circulation. You can't control guns, but you can try to stop the people. It starts with the people, not with the guns. So I wanted to write something about police brutality and this gun control shit they're trying to push. So I kind of put them both together, and that's what happened. That's what came out. That's it.
And I love that. I love honestly the one a man monologue type of plays where it's just taking us on a journey and we just have to be there with them in that moment. I'm personally not a victim of gun violence in a sense. I guess I would be in a sense. I was held at gunpoint before, actually earlier this year in January, and like robbed at gunpoint. So it's not the same as like police brutality, but it's the person behind the gun, like you said, like we can't stop the guns. I mean, we ourselves, both of us, we live in America, so we live in a place where guns are everywhere, whether you have them legally or illegally. And it is hard to get those laws passed that would ban guns because we have the NRAs, we have so many things and infrastructures that have been here for so many years and generations that it's very hard to say, okay, we're going to get rid of guns. It's more so the mindset of the person who has the gun and determining whether they're going to use discretion when using said gun. I know that in the voice inside my head, which is a big deal still, even in 2020, with police brutality with Black people, and in this instance is police brutality when it comes to Black men. This Black man was doing his daily routine, which is so mind-boggling because we've seen with the Buffalo shooting and the school shooting in Texas and just so many other events, the church shooting where these people are literally, you're living your life and you just wake up and it's another day for you. You're going about your routine. The voice inside my head, he's going for his daily run. He stops over at Dunkin'. He gets that shot of espresso that he's talking about. For him, this is just a routine day. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, his life completely changes due to lack of respect from police 100%. And I feel personally racism, was that a part of what you felt when it came to the police making, because he calls him out of his name. So
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely think so.
Oh yeah, it's definitely racist. But the point of the play is that this could happen to anybody at any given time. You just out minding your own business. You know, you out minding your own business, going about your way, and all of a sudden, boom, you wake up the next day dead. It's just it's crazy. But this is the world we live in. It's like you go to like the people in Buffalo. You go into the store to get your pack of neck bones, and you don't, and you never, your family never, they never see you again. You know, that make them hate neck bones too. but but it's just the simple things in life that we take for granted can be ended in a second. Just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, having the wrong paint job. My paint job is brown. Maybe it's the wrong paint job if I get in the wrong place. So now with especially with the political climate the way it is. You never know when you're in the wrong place or not, you know. So you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. And that's no way to live. But that's just the reality of life these days, you know. You don't know when the next white supremacist gonna come in the post office where you're trying to mail a letter and decide, I'm gonna kill all these niggas in here. You know, you never know when this is gonna happen. So every time you go out, you have to watch people. And it gets tiring. It wears on you because you're never comfortable in your own skin. And that's just the way it is these days. And you know, you just it screws with your comfort level. You know, you don't have the same comfort level that you once had, and you can't blame it on guns. You have to blame it on people. A gun is an inanimate object. Without the person to pull the trigger, it can't do anything. So to control guns it's like a dog chasing its tail. You know, even if you catch your tail and bite it, you're still hurting. You know, so they have to they have to figure out some other way to stop it other than trying to control guns. I'm not a proponent of guns, and I'm not an opponent of guns because I'm gonna tell you, with all the crazy people out, some people, you know, need guns just to protect themselves. It's just like you. You got robbed. You didn't have a gun. If you had a gun, it still may have not have been good to have. You know what I mean? Because if you pull it and don't shoot it, then you're gonna come up on the wrong end of it. You know, so I just wanted in the play. I was just trying to the situation with George Floyd and the situation with uh, Orlando Castillo and all these other cats. You know, it's not an anomaly or a fluke. You know, these things happen often. Sometimes you don't even hear about it. You know, but it happens quite often, and I don't. In my lifetime, I don't think it'll be stopped. I don't think you can. I just don't think you can because police are a microcosm of society, and we live in a society full of racists. So to think that the police wouldn't be racist as well is kind of crazy to even think that way, you know. So I don't think there's an easy solution. I guess you just have to go about your way and, and wish yourself luck and hope you don't end up on the wrong end or something. You know, that's about.
And I would say, unfortunately, that is kind of just the way you have to live, especially in our society in America. Because, like you said, you can have the wrong paint job one day, and it's just not, it's just not your day. Unfortunately, and that could be from police or someone else who has a gun that just is feeling that it's today is the day. Like you said, going in the post office, you can't even go anywhere and really live your life. And unfortunately, that's something that so many of us have to deal with every day, being anxious or being hyper aware of your surroundings, just in case you can find an exit strategy, which is like, unfortunately, it's not the best way to live because it's hard to just live constantly in a state of anxiety. That's why you have to try to find something within yourself to help you not dwell on that all the time, so that you do have some sense of happiness. So I say for yourself, what do you do to be able to compartmentalize the heavy work that you write versus being able to live your life and find moments of joy and moments where you're able to just decompress?
I'm a cook. I love to cook, and cooking does it for me. You know, I love to write, but and you're an actor, so you love to act. But we have to have other things too to keep us, centered besides what we do. And for me, it's cooking. Nothing brings me more joy than to cook a nice meal, set it on the table, and watch my wife enjoy it. Nothing brings me more joy than that. And I enjoy cooking much more than I do writing, but writing is, it's an outlet too. But as far as, keeping a level head when I'm out in public and not letting crisis or fear overwhelm you, I go into a place and the first thing I look for is if something happens in here, how the hell do I get out in a hurry? You know, and and you try not to think that way. Try to push that in the back of your head and enjoy, where you are and live in the moment. But these days, it's kind of hard to live in the moment because there's so much going on. But to just decompartmentalize and you know get away from writing. I do, like I said, I cook and I do a lot of reading, and I just try to stay in my own lane. You know, mainly stay in my own lane. That's the most thing. That's the most important thing is to stay in my own lane. And I figure as long as as long as I stay in my own lane, I'm okay.
I love that. And I love to eat. I'm not gonna say I love to
Yeah,
cook, but I
yeah.
definitely love to eat. I can cook, but I definitely love to eat. So I'm so happy that you're able to have that outlet. Because I know for myself, it's like gaming. So I've like played games on my PC laptop because it's just it gives you an outlet. Because we both, even though I do acting and you do playwriting, we live so many lives that are not our own in the work that we do, that a lot of times for us, especially as Black people, a lot of the work that we do can be heavy work. We don't often do as much lighthearted work, I feel, as often, which I think this upcoming generation of artists are starting to lean a little bit more towards trying to find more balance in the joy versus the social justice aspects of the content that we create. So I do appreciate that in The Voice Inside My Head, you do have moments where there is some laughter of him just being himself, even despite his circumstances of where we find him, which is in afterlife. What for you made you say, I want to call it The Voice Inside My Head?
But when I was writing it, and like when he's laying on the ground, and the voice in his head tells him to run. It's you know we all have a voice inside our head that's there to keep us safe. And when the voice inside his head told him to run, it was a mistake. He shouldn't have listened to it. The voice in his head is what got him killed. And that's why I named it the voice inside my head, because we all have that voice inside our heads. But whether we listen to them or not, sometimes they talk to us to keep us safe. But sometimes it's BS and we shouldn't listen to it. But this time he should have listened, and he didn't, and it caused his demise. So we have to try to. I'm not saying censor the voice in our head, but we have to listen to it more carefully and try to see what's at the root of it. We all have a voice inside our head, but we don't listen to it enough, and sometimes it can create big problems for us. And sometimes we listen to it when we shouldn't, which causes even more problems. But the man in black heard a voice. He should have heard. He should have listened to the voice. He'd probably still be alive, but maybe not, because I think the cop was intent on killing this guy anyway. So, um, but the voice inside my head, I named it that because that's the voice inside my head. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think
Yeah.
to
I
me,
definitely think it makes sense. Because I feel like in those situations when you're dealing with gun violence or in violence in general, I feel like you do hear there's a voice that's trying to tell you whether, okay, the best exit strategy, and everything happens in a split second, but inside your head it seems like it takes such a long time. It feels like hours when it's just moments where you have to make a split decision on whether you may or may not survive based on what your voice tells you to do. And I will say, when it comes to police brutality, a lot of times that a lot of us do feel conflicted, because you'll see on the social media, because it's just so prevalent now, you get to see everything in real time so quickly, versus back in the day where you, if it didn't get a big enough voice around it or a newspaper article, you didn't even find out that someone had an issue with police brutality or someone was killed by the police, or anything at all. You just kind of just didn't know it unless it happened where you were. um but I think that a big thing that for that situation for him, it was just you have to decide. We see people run, they get shot by the police. We see people surrender and you still get shot by the police. So it's like a catch 22. You don't really know what you should and shouldn't do. Um, and I like your take on the fact that you think that, like, had he not, or had he listened and he didn't run, then maybe he could have lived to run, literally run as his exercise another day.
Now, see, the main thing I was trying to convey in the play is the panic in the guy. The way, you know, just imagine somebody's chasing you with a gun, and in your head, you're thinking, I'm getting ready to die. I'm getting ready to die. And the panic sets in. You don't know what to do. And that's what I was trying to convey in the play. I wanted people to be able to feel this. You know, this guy running and these bullets hitting him. Can you imagine what that would feel like if you're running and you know someone and you know you're getting ready to die? You know, you hear the bullets coming, and you feel it and you know it. And all of a sudden you're laying here and people are watching you and nobody's trying to help. They're just watching and recording it for Instagram and Facebook Live instead of someone running over here and saying, man, get off this man. See, I think as a people, it's our duty if we see people in a situation like this to do something. There's 9 bullets in this gun. If you have 20 people here, you can't shoot all of them. Somebody needs to step up and say, look, George Floyd, with all these people standing around him, he could still be alive. If one of these people who were standing around would have stepped up and said, man, y'all let this man go. Sometimes you have to throw yourself under the bus to save someone else. Very important. But we've grown too afraid of, we're too consumed with getting likes on social media. And we're too consumed with, having the best video on TikTok. And all the while, somebody's dying on the sidewalk. It just, to me, it's just so horrendous that I had to write this play. I had to write this play. I had to address the people who their inaction caused someone else to die. I think the inaction of the people standing around, if you if you're in a situation, it's you and your sister or you and your man or whatever, and you're out walking and someone accosts him, you're not gonna stand there and let this go down like this. You're not gonna stand here and let this go down like this. If he goes, you're going with him because you came together, you leave together. And that's the way it should be. Instead of, I'm gonna record this and get this on my Instagram feed. I gotta record this and get this on Facebook Live. No, you take this phone and you throw it and hit this dude upside the head long enough to try to get this man some room so he can breathe. All he needed was a couple seconds of this man's knee off his throat so he could get his wind. And people standing around watching this. This is crazy to me. You know, in the old days, I hate to bring up the old days, but in the old days, they'd have jumped this dude. They'd have jumped this dude. Everybody standing around, they would have jumped this dude. You may have shot a couple of them, but the rest of them, by the time they got through with you, that gun would have done you a little good. And I think that's what we don't help each other enough. We don't come to the aid of each other. We have to help each other. It's
I
important that we do.
I definitely agree with that. I think that we've gotten to the point that there is really no village mindset. I feel like a lot of people have become complacent. That a lot of people are also scared because they know, well, if I help, no, the next person's not gonna help either. So now it's me and him, and so now we both down and out. But I like the way that you said it. Of sometimes you have to throw yourself under the bus for somebody else. And I feel like the people that go out of their way to do things like that are, like, I don't know, like angels in disguise. It's like you have enough courage to be able to do that and say it doesn't matter what may happen to me. I see my fellow man or my fellow woman, my fellow person hurting and needing help. And I'm going to do so. I've also seen riots, videos of riots and other or protests, not necessarily riots, but protests in other countries where they have like defended themselves against the police, where they will, they'll see the police grab someone. I've even seen it somewhat in a few videos here where there have been people who've been able to get away, where people can, they'll distract you, like you said, throw a phone, throw something long enough for that person to have some semblance of chance to live past the situation that they're going through at the moment. But I feel if we had more of that, it'll be less of the brutality that we see today. But I also think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're in a capitalistic society. Gas is $7 now. And this is
Yeah,
Chicago, like
yeah.
$7 to even get a tank of gas, and it's ridiculous. And people have been so beat down, so downtrodden. There's no middle class. It's just the poor against the rich. And unfortunately, there's some people in the poor who think that, well, I might be a millionaire tomorrow, so let me not be too harsh on the rich, or let me not go against certain laws that could actually benefit me in the here and now today. And it'll make people complacent. It'll make people not want to help. And I hate to see that, because, like you said, a lot of times it is people will video stuff. The people that video it and bring awareness, I love that. However, it's like it's so many people. If just one or two people would kind of jump in to help in some sense, which you shouldn't even have to do. You shouldn't have to, at this point, battle against the police, because the whatever job they consider themselves to be doing is not adequate in a lot of instances, unfortunately. Um, but I will say that I do appreciate the voice inside my head, because it does take us on a journey. He tells a complete story from beginning to end. And his iconic line at the end where he says he can't F and breathe, did that come from the George Floyd situation?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the way I look at it is, we are our brother's keeper because we're only 13% of the population in America. So we have to band together. We are our brother's keeper. Whether we like it or not, we are. And I've come through a lot, and I'm at the age now where I can, if I would throw myself in front of the bus, my parents raised me that way. I've been that way my whole life, so I don't know any better than to throw myself under the bus. With my plays, I throw myself under the bus every time I write a play because I write about controversial subjects, and I write about things that most people don't want to hear. But in order to make things happen, you have to give people stuff that they don't want to hear. You can't tell people what they want to hear all the time. And I understand that a lot of theaters these days want to do Black Joy and Happy Black and Dancing Black and Laughing Black, but it's not realistic to me. You know, uh, with the theater, I have an allocated amount of time to get my point across. So I try to make you laugh a little bit while I'm also telling you that this is what we need to do. And I try not to be preachy with it. I don't want to bash people across the head with my story. And I just give you the story, not from my side. This is the story. I don't take sides. This is the story. This is how I see it. And this is what we need to do. And leave it at that. And whether you like it or not is of no relevance to me. But like I said, I understand theaters, they want to do Black Joy and they want everybody to be happy, but that's not the world we live in today. It's just not. We when you hide from the realities of life, sooner or later you get blindsided by it, and that's not good either. And even if I try to do Black Joy, it will come out like a circus act. So I wouldn't even try that one. I don't want to write about relationships gone wrong because I don't care who you're sleeping with. I don't want to write about what's happening in the church. I write about what's happening now. You know, I write topical plays about the world we live in now because this is the world that we can affect. I don't write slave plays. I don't write plays set during the Civil War because I didn't live during the Civil War. And I write about I live in the church of what's happening now, because I want people to see what's happening now. Our heritage of slavery, and that we need to talk about what happened. But to me, it's irrelevant. What's relevant now is these brothers getting killed for no reason, the high cost of everything you buy in the stores, you know, price of gas, $7, $8 a gallon. These are the things that need to be addressed. Maybe I will address slavery someday, but I'll probably be too old to even recognize what it's about. I think we have a duty to our people to address what's happening to us, whether it's pretty or not. I think we have a duty to address what's happening to us. And a lot of people don't want to see it, but you can't hide from reality. I don't care how you wrap it up in a song and dance act. You can't hide from reality, because once you walk outside your house, it'll hit you right in the face. People will say that maybe I'm benefiting from what's been happening. I'm not benefiting much from what's been happening. I'm addressing what's been happening. I'm going head on against what's been happening, so people can see it for what it is. That's just it's what I do. As long as I've been writing plays, I've been writing socially relevant plays, and it took forever for the plays to get done. And now, shit, I got a play going just about every other week, because people want to, now people are becoming more socially aware. I don't know how long it'll last, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing.
And I also think that the way that you write, it isn't for the white gaze. You write it in a way that's speaking from a Black person's experience, speaking to other Black people. So I feel that other people can get the message if they watch it as well. But when I watch it, I don't feel like you're preaching at me. And I also don't feel like I'm watching something where I don't feel like it's for me. Because I think that's part of the issue with some Black people when they say, oh, they are tired of trauma related things. It's because the trauma related thing to Blackness that they're viewing is told through the lens of a non-Black person, and is trying to speak through the mouth of a physical Black person. But we could tell that that's not how we would say that. That's not how we would deal with that situation. And I think that if more Black people wrote like you when it came to dealing with trauma, where it's from a viewpoint that we understand, that we don't feel like we're being exploited, it would work out better. That mixed with the Black Joy plays, it's just having that balance. But I think a big issue with the trauma related things to Blackness when it comes to the play universe is that a lot of times we'll feel like we're being preached at, or that the play wasn't even for us to begin with. It may be all Black people on stage. You may be talking about a Black topic, but you didn't make this play for me. And then that's when we get offended and we're like, well, I don't want to see any more of it, because if all you could do is create Black trauma for the white gaze or the non-Black gaze, then what is the point? How is this relevant to me? But the way that you're able to make it still relevant to the times that we're living in, but also tell it through a Black gaze for Black people, is what I feel like, wow, your work is being, like you said, every other week somebody wants to do a piece for you because of those reasons. You have been able to put a perfect mix together where your work can be appreciated. And because, like you said, you're a playwright, your work can go anywhere. And because we're still doing digital content when it comes to theater in this world, and I think that's something that's probably going to keep going, just because the pandemic is happening. I was gonna say happen, but it ain't happened. It's happening. It hasn't stopped. The world has just opened up, and it's like, hey, you gonna sink or swim with it. But from the stance of capitalism, it is what it is. We all gonna go to work, or y'all gonna stay at home, but we're not giving out any more checks about nothing. So, but I feel like your work is still very relevant. And I mean, it happened like last week. There was a pregnant woman shot 5 times by the police. So it's just like these stories that you're telling will never get old because they keep happening.
Yep. And one of my beefs with the theater is that the elitism and the condescension. Don't talk down to people. What really irks me about a lot of writers is that they write to try to make themselves look intelligent, use words that make themselves look intelligent, that they're learned, or I want to write plays where people can relate to what I'm saying. And in order for people to relate to what I'm saying, I can't talk down to them. And I have to put people on stage who look like them and talk like them and act like them. I don't write plays about college professors. I write plays about janitors and dishwashers and people who wait tables or drive a bus because these are the people who are relevant in my world. These are the people who speak to me in my head. I just want to write plays for the average Joe. So the average person can come in and say, man, I didn't that play was crazy as hell, but I really understood where this dude was coming from. I really understood that. I've seen that. I know that dude. Like when I write a play and you see this guy on the stage, you say, man, I know that dude. He hangs out behind the store all the time, bumming money for beer. You know these people. You know, you can relate to these people. You don't feel like people are talking down to you or trying to make you feel small. And if you can do that and not preach to them and make them laugh, I think you got a winning combination, and that's what I try to do. Just try to talk to people on their level and hope they'll listen. And if I do it, I'm good with that.
And with that, I don't know what else I can say. I think you tied it together really nicely. Do you have any other work going on right now or any of your shows that are being produced anywhere else?
Yeah, I'm doing the Black Motherhood and Parenting Festival for Blackboard Theater. I'm working on a play to have it ready for this fall. Then I got a commission for another play that I have to kind of keep under my hat for the time being. I'm trying to push this one play that I wrote, The Unraveling of Jesus Jones. I'm pushing it really hard. That's about it for now.
Wonderful, but I mean, you definitely need a break because you write some powerful stuff. So you definitely need a break, and hopefully this summer you can relax a little, enjoy some sun. Hopefully you don't get too hot because the weather has been out of this world. Um, but yeah, we want to just thank you once again for sharing your art with us at Perceptions Theater, and we can't wait to see your work again. This time on our stage where people in Chicago can physically come see us. But I'm so happy to once again have your art with us. And honestly, one of my favorite Black playwrights that is like a localish playwright that I actually know and have been able to speak to that isn't, in a conglomerate of like big A-list playwrights that have like, maybe changed their work around to suit others, some. But I'm glad that you're staying true to your work and who you are as an artist. And I hope to see more and produce more of your work as we move on. So thank you once again. We're so happy to have you. And I hope you have a great summer.
I love working with you guys. You guys make me happy.